Hi, my name's Robert. I'm speaking out of Cornwall in West England. This is just a little bit regarding the book I wrote with Patrick Quentin, A Conscious Humanity, which is basically a narrative on the human experience. There's just something that people say, a lot of people say in the so-called spiritual world, that really annoys me. And there's probably a little bit of truth in it, but it's just something annoying me, and I just want to give my viewpoint on it. And it's this thing where people say you don't really exist. Get it from people who look into Buddhism maybe and things like that. And it just annoys me because you have to define the you, and you have to define existence. So how can I say you don't exist? Because that would imply I don't exist. But who is this I speaking? And what is existence? It's a statement that a lot of spiritual people say. I don't think they really think about it, about what that statement means and the contradictions in it. Now I'm sure there's quite a lot of people will have good explanations of that statement. I don't look too much into the kind of new agey type spiritual people. It's not my cup of tea really. I'm really a practical person. But there's one guy called Rupert Spira. I'll try and find a link to his channel and put a link below. And I think he gives a decent explanation of what they call non-duality. He doesn't say we don't exist. What he says is your existence is an illusion, which I think is more accurate, even though I wouldn't necessarily agree in that exactly as well. But his explanation going further, I think it's more accurate to say that rather than just say you don't exist. It's just an empty statement. It doesn't mean anything. So you have to go back into the nature of reality, which in the book we talk about the creator, God, if you like, the universal mind, being like a very calm, still sea of possibility. And it exists, as Rupert Spira mentions, I like his way of describing it, in a zero-dimensional space. It's not a space, it's just, we struggle for words, but there's zero, it's a point, if you like, but it isn't an actual physical area or a place. It's just this zero time, space, dimensions, but this infinite possibility there. You could call it the universal mind. And when thoughts arise, you could say in the mind of God, then that sets off a vibration and things get created. So if the basis of existence is vibration, so in this sea, dead calm sea, in the universal mind, things vibrate. And then that has kind of a viewpoint where time and space is perceived. It isn't necessarily real, but it's perceived as real, should we say. So every point in the universe, should we say, or atoms are receivers and transmitters of information, looking out at all the other points of the universe, having an individual perspective. And then human beings come along and we're conscious of that perspective. We're conscious of our consciousness. And we view all this time and space around us that, like I say, it's perceived, it isn't necessarily real. The space is the difference between your viewpoint of reality to whatever you're focusing on, another viewpoint of reality. And the time is just the observation of moments with memory. So you observe the passing of time, where these are moments that happen, vibrations, and we have a memory, therefore we connect it as a flowing time. So time isn't real, really. Again, it's perceived. And if what people like Patrick are saying, who's done the serious study on the nature of reality, and I've heard people like Nassim Haramein saying, basically out of your human life, you live half the time and half the time as possibility. So I think as the wave goes up, creates physical reality and comes back down into nothingness, comes back up and down, which means half your life your physical reality, half your life your possibility. So you're drawing in your perceptions to create the next possibility. And it comes down to, again, this thing, do we exist? And what a lot of spiritual people say, you don't exist, because we can't find physical matter anywhere in the universe. It's all energy. This you think we are, we can't find it, therefore you don't exist. I don't like that, because it doesn't explain anything at all. I like the way Rupert Spira says it, in that your existence is an illusion, in that behind it, again, you can't find the physical matter, but he's not denying the experience. And he says what your existence is. So then there is a you that exists, because he talks about it, an energy field of feelings, thoughts, perceptions, and there's a history behind that, your family history, your human history. It's an energy field that exists. And so the human energy field, your little one condensed part of that energy field, individual part, that's part of the whole human energy field, that's part of the whole universal mind. So basically, you have what they call infinite consciousness, or you could say infinite possibility, that to create an experience has to contract itself, because you can't be infinite and finite at the same time. So the infinite consciousness contracts itself through the human vehicle to see its own creation. And every point in the universe is another contraction of that universal consciousness to see its own creation. And so you can't be infinite and finite at the same time. So we can't truly know the mind of the creator, and the creator can't truly know our mind, because we, in effect, we are one small perception of the universal mind. So God, the creator, is seeing the universe through our consciousness. But there's this very difficult question for religious people, is there a personal God looking after me and caring about me? And you have to say there's zero evidence for that. Zero. Mark Passio will give a good example of, there's a man and woman having a picnic near a cliff. The little baby girl, toddler, is toddling away. They lose concentration. The little toddler's at a 100-foot drop, rocks below. What's going to happen? Is the universal creator going to come in and interfere there to do something compassionate and save that child? No. If that child falls, what will be will be. And there's a lot of suffering that goes on in the world, a lot of pain and suffering. We don't see any evidence whatsoever of a personal God who's worried about your individual suffering. Now, when trying to define the creator, I've used the word, what did I use? Imagination. Yeah. So that's how I can define the creator, imagination, the base of reality, everything, imagination. So you got Mark Passio uses the word law if he was to define the creator, law. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm right, it's a different perspective on the same things. I think the creator can manifest as law. So creation itself, which is creator and the creator, are not separate things, separate entities, which the religious people won't like. They see a separate being as a creator looking down on us, whereas this non-dualistic look, which seems scientific, sees creation and the creator all as one. When within the created experience are the laws. the laws of physics, the external laws, which has a consequence. You know, if you put your hand in a hot fire, it's going to burn. They're just laws and they're consequences. You don't have to see them as punishments, they're consequences. So there are laws of nature, and we have what we call internal laws of morality. You know, certain behaviors will promote peace in the world, certain behaviors could promote anger, hatred, violence, etc. So this belief in a personal God looking over us, and people pray to God, you know, want things normally, or want things to change. They don't necessarily want to do the work themselves. They're just looking for this personal God. Please, where are you? Will you do this for me? Sadly, there's no evidence that that God exists. Now, I've not got an issue with the word God, creator, universal mind, whatever you want. I don't have an issue with the word God. But I struggle to see any evidence of a personal God. Now, because I've been studying the human condition for many years and what they call new biology, it became obvious to me that I am made up of 70 trillion, so they tell me, cells. Each of my individual cells are an individual organism in themselves having an experience. I'm also probably the same or more so made up of bacteria, individual organisms having an experience. I am not aware of any of the individual experiences of my cells. Now, if you relate that to the universal mind, I can't be aware, because for me to be aware of an experience of a cell, say in my liver or wherever, I would have to contract my mind to become that liver cell. As me, the conscious whole, I simply cannot be aware. It's impossible. It's not possible. It's not the only thing in the universe that is impossible. For the whole mind to know the experience of one aspect. And this individual liver cell, say, has no understanding of my world at all. Nothing of my mind. So that would say to me that God, in the infinite state, cannot know my finite conscious mind experience. Can't, because it would have to contract, which is actually done. So I am the God mind of this little experience. It's not like there's a bigger mind who is still big but looking at my mind. I am that contracted little bit of the infinite mind, contracted to be this little individual experience. So as I can't know my liver experience of the liver cell, and the liver cell can't know my total mind, but with the same organism, I am made up of 70 trillion cells, of which one of them will be that liver cell. Now, I know when my body's out of balance. Yeah, I know pain and suffering in a generalized way. Now, there's certain biological rules that I'm supposed to live by and feed my body, exercise, breathing, etc., that I know will look after my whole body, all the individual cells. And the universal mind, I believe, will probably feel the suffering of mankind, know that it's out of balance, and know what mankind needs. But I don't think it's possible that it's looking down individually. Oh, poor little Robbie's got this, he needs to do that. Oh, I'm going to manifest reality for this. No, I think reality is created in a way that when you pursue truth, morality, justice, that, yeah, the simulation, if you like, the rules of the game make life better for you when you pursue them goals. I think that's built into the game, but that's to come from us. I don't think there's a universal mind manipulating reality because it feels sorry for me. And this is something that religious-minded people are going to have to get through, because there's no evidence of a personal God. But when you go through your own life experiences and you make changes, there does seem to be evidence, even though it's personal evidence, that life does get better when you start making more conscious moral decisions. That seems how the game works. So for me, do I exist? Yes, I do. Existence is the experience we're having in this reality, which is lots of points of the universal mind viewing each other, watching the motion, because I say, what is life? Life is movement. That's it. Your response to the environmental impulses creates a movement, a wave, if you like. And the observation of that is what we call life. So, yeah, I exist. That's existence. I exist. The I that exists is this collection, this energy field within the whole human energy field. So I can't deny the existence of my individual cells, but they take place within the whole of my body. So my own individual human mind, made up of these thoughts, perceptions, belief systems, to be the family history in that, this energy field of information is within the whole energy field information. And then it's within the energy field of the planet. And yeah, so this is where the spiritual people say we're all one. Yeah, but we don't experience life as that. But if you can detach from the you, the I, and become, like, should we say, God consciousness, so you're not attaching to any of these things, you're just the state of being. That's all it is. Rupert Spira, put a link below, explains it a lot better. It's just you put yourself in a state of being where the only thing you know is you are. You just are being. And then you can see your experience differently. Maybe not take it too seriously. See, it's not the whole of you. It's not a life or death thing. And then it goes to the even bigger question, is God love? So if we haven't got a personal God, is God love? Well, first of all, you'd have to define God, which I've tried to do. I've used the word imagination. Some people might use infinite consciousness, whatever. But then you've got to define love. You know, it's a big word, so you'd have to define it if you're saying God is love. I personally don't use that term because I can't find a definition of love that would go with how I see things. So Rupert Spira is a great example of God consciousness just being a blank screen, basically. And whereas a blank screen in a cinema will accept anything that's projected onto it, anything, everything is possible. Horror movies, comedy movies, adventure movies, whatever. There's no judgment at all. So reality cannot, it has to accept all experience. It has no way of not accepting experience. Now, whether we perceive these experiences that we're creating in our human minds and manifest them in reality as evil, to God consciousness, if you like, the blank screen of reality, there's no judgment. It's unconditional. You know, we're creating an experience, just bring it on. People would say that's unconditional love because I believe, as some people do, that morality is built into the system. Then you would ask the even bigger question, why does God allow evil? But if all that exists is the universal mind that some people call God, then you would have to say evil is an expression of God. Which again, these big questions that religious people don't want to ask. But then that evil is not created by the infinite consciousness of God, but the contracted consciousness, which is limited. It's limited in its thinking. Fear can set in. Many different things can set in that the infinite wouldn't do, because it's a contracted, limited if you look back on your own life and as you've expanded your own consciousness, there's probably things you've done in your past that you think, crikey, I wouldn't do that again. Because hopefully as you're growing older, you're expanding your consciousness and your awareness and awareness of your own actions and the consequences. So if you've done something bad in the past, violence or something against somebody that's hurt them, in that moment you may not have been aware of it. Was that evil, or is just that a lack of awareness? As you expand your consciousness, you go, wow. So you're coming closer, you could say, to God consciousness, then you wouldn't do them things. So I mean, people say when they do meditation and they detach, then they say God is love. Again, you'd have to define love. I've heard people say God is peace. Well, I'll go for that. Because if there's no experience, there's just the possibility of experience, then all you've got is the still ocean, the peaceful ocean, waiting for the waves of experience to happen. So I'm happy to say that God is peace. Again, God is love is another thing you'd have to define the word love. And again, I'll repeat, I do believe that morality is embedded into the experience, so that when we pursue that path, life does become really enjoyable. But the fact that when we contract consciousness, the potential for evil is there. And people say, you know, there's only two emotions, love and fear. Everything comes out of them too. So expanded consciousness will come more to love, better actions and behaviors. The more you contract a behavior, that feeling of separation of who you really are, that feeling of separation brings about fear, which leads to what we call bad behavior. The only thing that a lot of these spiritual people don't go into, which I've heard Rupert Sperry give a good explanation for why God allows suffering to children, which is basically this contraction of consciousness, which makes us potentially do bad things. But a big thing that's missing out of this arena, should we say, is what seems to be the obvious satanic even manipulation of consciousness. So there are people that know how this game works who are now manipulating human consciousness for their own benefits. Now, you would think, well, that's not coming out of love, but is that coming out of fear? Because these people seem to have a level of consciousness to know how the game works. You know, this is a little bit of a grey area for me. Does greed come out of fear? It certainly doesn't come out of love, but does greed come out of fear? I can understand violence, hatred, and all things coming out of fear, but greed and this want, jealousy, if you even like, if you go back to the fallen angels who wanted to be like God and have that godly power, the power of creation. Is that fear? It's definitely not love, but is it fear? I'm not 100% on that. I haven't heard a good explanation of how that would be fear. So, yeah, that's just my take on do we exist? I'm just going to close that light there because it's getting... That's my slight light adjustment as the sun comes over today. So, yeah, I think we exist. I think it's good, especially when life's hard, to detach from your existence and just be in a state of being, especially if you're under emotional stress. But I think we exist. I think we have to accept our existence. And I have something I call healthy detachment, which is when you really need to concentrate. You contract your consciousness deliberately to play an important tennis match, if you're reading a book, if you've got some chopping a knife, if you're a chef, you want to focus on that. You don't want to chop your fingers off. So you're actually deliberately contracting your consciousness to focus. Generally speaking, you would have what I call healthy detachment, which is you're aware of what you're doing, going about your daily life, but you have an awareness of what's going on around you as well. That's your normal healthy detachment. And then you could have complete detachment, which can be used if you meditate or whatever, if life is getting really stressful, to detach and say, well, yeah, that isn't really me. It's just an experience that's being had. So at the moment, I can just take a time out. So there's different levels of consciousness when you're aware of the game. So you can choose your level of consciousness and come in and out of that level of consciousness for what you need at the time. That's my preferred method of explaining this and utilizing this. So I just want to finish on a serious note. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe, because the more subscribers I get, the more money I can potentially get off YouTube. So I believe YouTube is an evil organization pushing out evil propaganda, censoring and satanic images in the advertisements, pushing products on us that we don't need. But I want my share of money of that if I'm putting out the content. So subscribe so I can get monetized and get money. Press the like button because that helps my sense of insecurity that I'm not a really good human being. So when you get a like, I get a bit of a buzz off that. So that helps me and my insecurities. Press the notification bell because things that I'm saying, I'm so wise and important that you need to drop everything that you're doing when a new video of mine comes up. It's so important that you drop everything you're doing. Doesn't matter if you're doing something important, drop it. When my notifications come up, you need to know the words that I'm saying. Put a comment on the below. Yeah. Any comments that agree with me, great, brilliant. Anyone that doesn't, then you obviously don't know what you're talking about. It's pretty important that you see me as this spiritual guru who's going to lead you into the promised land, because this is really what's going to, doesn't matter what you do in your life, it's who you listen to on YouTube who is really going to save you and make the world a better place. And obviously, you know, I should make a lot of money out of this. Do you think I'm one of you peasants? You know, I mean, do you think I should work for a living? Clean toilets, paint houses? You know, I'm putting out spiritual information and I'm above everyone else on the planet. You know, you shouldn't actually work. No, I should be getting an income just for being me. I'm above working. All the peasants should be around working for me so I can get money and just go out and buy things. I shouldn't have to work for things. Come on. Unfortunately, wife won't let me grow my hair. She says I'm just a naughty boy and I'm not the Messiah. But I have got the stubble and I have got the shirt and the hairy chest. So in the next few videos, I might do the open down shirt and the hairy chest. What more proof do you need to know that I know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that I'm superior to you and you need to listen to me. And in that case, what you need to do is pay a monthly fee to my Patreon channel where you'll get information that I won't give out to the peasants, and that will make you feel a sense that you're getting information that is more important. So you'll feel above everyone else. And then the t-shirts will be out, and then you can wear the t-shirt with you following me, which will show what an individual thinker you are. You're so individual, such an individual thinker that you're willing to follow me and proudly show it. This is the truth movement. This is the freedom movement. This is where we're at. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Thank you.